Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Hey everyone, checking in on the cryptocurrency space before we get to the regular technical analysis. Going to answer a couple member questions here. The first is, what do I think about alt season? If I want to know if altcoins are going to perform better than Bitcoin, I'm going to be looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is BTC.D, and I'm going to be looking at the total 2 chart, which is the market cap minus Bitcoin. So this is what the space is doing without Bitcoin's influence. So the first thing is looking at just plain old technical analysis, BTC.D. So the Bitcoin dominance and the market cap is seeing multiple weeks of pullback with no higher low established. Look at this weekly uptrend. So from 52, we see a higher low, another higher low. Last higher low was at 66.48. We've been pulling back for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and we are still in a weekly uptrend. So anything above 66.48 is a higher low in my opinion. So it's about time we start looking for a weekly higher low to form. If the bears are going to get significant follow through, or I should say, if the altcoin bulls are going to see some gained ground against Bitcoin, it's going to have to be, in my opinion, a weekly lower high, unable to break 73.42, and then a drop down to lower lows, which would be a head and shoulders pattern, losing the weekly uptrend. The odds that we're just going to drop from 68.73 and break 66.48 after already seeing 5 weeks of consolidation is just not the most likely scenario, in my opinion. We also have a double bottom at 68.30. If the bulls can break 69.67 from here, we have a double bottom and a break of the lower highs, which would give us our weekly higher low being set. So it's going to be interesting for the rest of the week. Can the bulls hold this support, put a stop to the pullback, and change this trend for the weekly higher low? If that happens, then we're going to see altcoins weaken a bit compared to Bitcoin. Also, this is the total 2 chart. This is the market cap without Bitcoin. This is the weekly time frame. Very clear downtrend. We have our high, low of the pullback, lower high, drop to a lower low, another lower high, drop to a lower low. Here's a bounce that we have been seeing for a couple weeks, and anything under 83.87 is just a lower high. So I don't anticipate that we're going to change this weekly trend on this bounce attempt, because we could still see another significant gain in that market cap. And this is in billions here. So we could see the market cap go up 25% before we encounter that resistance. So that's a long ways away. And I'm anticipating that a weekly lower high is going to form here. And the bulls would then have to hold the base and break the lower highs to try and change the trend. So in my opinion, we're probably close to seeing a shift back towards some Bitcoin dominance gaining as we look for a weekly higher low to form on that chart. So I would be watching this daily chart and see if this double bottom can hold for the rest of the week, and can we get over the daily exponential resistances, which have been giving the bulls some trouble for the last 3 weeks. Another question is, when am I focusing on a certain time frame for an oversold bounce? And the answer is, it's dictated always by the broader setup. So just as an example right now, if I'm looking at Bitcoin and I'm anticipating a weekly lower high to be set, I'm not interested in hourly oversold bounces. They mean nothing to me. The bigger picture is look for weakness. The bigger picture is bear. The bulls have to prove something to us. We broke weekly support of 9,000, and since that has happened, this bounce is very unimpressive. The burden of proof is on the bulls, and they're not proving anything to me. It's a weekly bear flag right now. So I am not bullish the cryptocurrency space, and I am trading other things in the regular stock market while I wait. Little side note, I will be making a video about the transition from crypto into trading stocks now that stocks have no fees, getting a lot more questions about people interested in making that transition. And while I'm certainly not saying abandon the crypto space and trade stocks, I'm saying broaden your horizons, as I've been saying for a long time, and be able to trade any market. And that's going to keep you from forcing trades. It's going to keep opportunities all over the place. So for me, my feeling is the opportunities, also because I'm not shorting the space in the cryptocurrency world, but I'm focused on stocks. So I will be making that video sometime in the next couple of weeks. Keep an eye out for it. But back to my point, if I'm looking for a weekly lower high to form, why am I trying to find an hourly bounce? It doesn't make sense. I would be looking for at the least a daily oversold bounce, which is what I did. We saw the weekly bear break of 9,000. I said, all right, waiting for extreme RSI conditions, at least on the daily time frame, and ideally the daily 4-hour hourly all the way down, and then entered under 8,000 and got some gains out of it. So if I'm looking for a weekly lower high and a weekly lower low, daily RSI has to be oversold at a minimum. And likewise, You know, if I'm looking at an uptrend and we're looking for a daily higher low to form, I'm not going to be trying to short hourly overbought conditions because we're looking for a daily higher low. So again, bigger picture time frames should dictate what you're doing, and you shouldn't be trying to, in my opinion, trying to micromanage these tiny moves inside broader, bigger patterns, because if you just patiently waited for those broader, bigger patterns to play out, number one, you're probably going to have a lot less losers of trades, and number two, it's going to keep you very patient and it's going to keep you from over trading. So again, just the fact, ever since I sold, I traded Ethereum on this bounce. First I traded Bitcoin, then I traded the Ethereum move. Ever since I got out of that position, I said, okay, looking for weekly lower highs. I have no interest in any bullish position until I either see a weekly trend change or we drop to lower lows. So I've now been sitting on my hands for over a week, just patiently waiting for more clarity on the longer term time frames. And right now it's looking like the bears might be closing in on giving us that more clarity as we are losing supports and the weekly bear flag is still absolutely in play on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's looking back down to 77.62 and 77.01. There is little daily support until those levels. So if we continue to drop down, 8,000 psychological and then 7,700. If 7,700 breaks, the weekly bear flag is confirmed, and I will then be focused on the daily RSI being back in the mid-20s, mid to lower 20s before I get interested. And again, ensuring that the shorter term timeframes RSIs line up as oversold as well, with Bitcoin's daily RSI being oversold. Again, we're looking for a monthly higher low to form, but this current action is not convincing me that this is our monthly higher low, and that may change, but again, the bulls have to break at least 9,000 for that to start to change for me. So we could pull back with another leg down, and we'll look for a play perhaps off the lower $7,000 range. Ethereum, daily lower high was set, so high, low of the bounce, which is a daily higher low. The size of the move, as I was pointing out in the last video, we still needed 6% just to get to resistance. We now have a lower high, and if we drop down and break 177.27, which we did, but not by very much, so if we break a little bit further, now we're in a daily downtrend of lower highs and lower lows. And with that break, we can go to the weekly chart and say, yep, our weekly lower high has been set. Let's see if the bulls are able to hold the lows down at 152. For the bulls to convincingly shift momentum from here, this is just a different perspective on the 4-day chart. There's our weekly lower high. We have to hold 152 and then break that resistance level of 197.93 to change that time frame. Otherwise, we're just looking back down at 152.11 and the potential for weekly lower lows. So the daily uptrend has been lost on ETH. Bears just want a little bit more follow through for that to be convincing. Here's ETH BTC, daily lower high. We are at risk of losing the uptrend if 2135 support breaks. It will be a lower high and a lower low on the daily if that happens, which means zoom out and look for weekly consolidation because we have not consolidated on the weekly time frame since this move started. LTC USD, daily trend change, lower high, lower low. 53.03 and 50.25 are supports. Weekly bear flag, looking pretty confident for the bears at this point. LTC BTC chart, also weak, big long lower wick. We just dropped down to test our recent low. It held, but obviously the bears are in control of this chart as well. And if you're seeing an individual coin and their USD chart as well as their BTC chart are both in downtrends, you know the bears have complete control of that name. XRP has been one of the stronger names, still very clearly in a daily uptrend. It got a bull move for a higher high, as did Binance. Two of the few names that have done that, and anything above 265 is a daily higher low, keeping the bulls in control. Keep in mind though, I would anticipate a weekly lower high and an equilibrium is the most likely scenario with 327 resistance. So if we lose the daily uptrend at any point before breaking 327, it's a weekly lower high, and then we will zoom out and look for the weekly higher low compared to 212. BNB USDT, also still seeing follow through. So one of the leader bulls, daily higher low is down at 1650. We did have a little bit of news on Binance. We do have, I believe, an XRP event going on. So there's little individual fundamental reasons as to why those names are seeing a little bit more strength than the other major market cap coins. But the bulls have space. Anything above 1650 is a daily higher low. When we lose the daily uptrend, our weekly lower high will be set. And we are still looking for weekly lower highs on these names, even though they are holding up a bit stronger. Link USD pulling back, testing our low of consolidation, 241. Bulls ideally want to hold that level. If we break 241, I would still consider it healthy consolidation. Bulls need to change the weekly trend for long-term follow-through. Next target I'd be looking at if we get a bear break of 241, looking down at 2275, but just an inability to set a convincing support level and try and make our way back up to the recent high. Solid little bit of profit taking the last 4 days. ZRX, daily uptrend lost. High, low of consolidation was 313, very healthy, keeping the bulls in control. Failed to break resistance, so we had a double top, and then we lost the daily uptrend. So that means zoom out and look for weekly consolidation now and a weekly higher low. Some people commented and said they view this as a weekly trend change. For me, it's not, because every single candle is a higher low on the weekly time frame. So we saw a higher low, 7 candles in a row. If we are going to see a clear trend change, there has to be a pivot where that's not the case. We have to see a clear change in that momentum, a clear higher low, and a clear higher high. So the people that say it's a trend change, in their opinion, they're going to say that this is our trend change. But again, we never broke the pattern. That's just an inside bar bull break. It's not a trend change for me. I've been applying this as my criteria for price level trend changes for many years, and this is just what I find works best. So I do not consider this a weekly trend change. We need to top out, break the pattern of a higher low every week, form a weekly higher low, and then change that trend if we're going to see a real trend change. It was just sideways consolidation into continuation. So daily time frame for ZRX, still very healthy here as well. That 28-cent break was just a gift to these bulls. Look at that break. 4 tops on the 4-hour time frame. Straight into a big time breakout with lots of follow through, over 20% or so. But that momentum has shifted, and it was actually the 4-hour time frame that I was just looking at. So let's redo that analysis. The 4-hour uptrend has been lost, which means zoom out and watch for a daily higher low to be established. And anything above 252 is a daily higher low. So bulls comfortable with daily uptrends on XRP, BNB, and ZRX at this point still. FTT USD for member request. Base of support down at 135. Double bottom, and now the bulls trying to break 143. Testing it now to try and see continuation of this uptrend. Next resistance is 161 after that. Weekly time frame. Low. This is, you could call it a weekly trend change because we did have a higher low and continuation. That higher low happened on the same week that our temporary top was set, so it's not the ideal trend change in my opinion, but the daily time frame is clear, and as long as the daily uptrend is intact, the bulls are just fine. So 143, 161 next 2 levels, and we'll look to see if the bulls can form a higher low compared to 135. ALGO USDT, daily time frame trading sideways, all about 266, and we broke that level with no follow through. So what's a daily trend change? With no follow through, what do? We zoom out and we look for the potential of a weekly bear flag. And right now, this is a weekly bear flag setting up. Daily higher low is going to try and form. Short-term support is 244. If 244 breaks, the odds of a weekly bear flag will increase. 205 is support after that. If bulls want to negate the weekly bear flag, we need follow through into the upper 20s and lower 30-cent range to see follow through over the 266 break, which we have not gotten at this point. So just to recap, I am bearish the space right now because the burden of proof is on the bulls, and the bulls have not proven anything to me. There's been some nice gains absolutely to be had the last couple weeks by playing bullish, but with the broader perspective of knowing that we're looking for weekly lower highs to be set, that means the bulls have to prove to us, and they're not. So we'll be watching for these weekly lower highs to be set. For many names, they're already set. For the names that still have their daily uptrends, those higher lows have to be lost for that to change. And we'll see if we end up confirming some weekly bear flags heading into this weekend. Staying protective myself, all cash. I don't have any trade game plan right now. I've been saying recently over the past week that this is not a clear setup for me. I'm not comfortable making any entries ever since I exited ETH. And so that tells me just sit on your hands and don't do anything. And it's a lot easier said than done when you have other things to be doing as a trader. So what will be my next play? If we do drop down and break 7,700, I'll probably be interested in another daily oversold bounce because we know a monthly higher low. That's why I'm interested in daily oversold bounces. Why am I trying to play against the trend on daily oversold bounces? Because technically, in my opinion, I'm playing with the monthly trend and the most likely scenario that a monthly higher low is going to form. That's why I'm interested in daily oversold bounces. So we'll see what we get. We'll continue to check in as things develop. And bears are comfortable at this point. A lot of bears probably using the high of the recent bounces as their stop level, whether it's Bitcoin at 88.26 or Ethereum just under 200. See you soon. Do good things. Happy Thanksgiving, Canadians. That's it.